I was on vacation and I was like 16 or 17. It might have been the first real beachy vacation I had with friends. And I saw this picture and I'm just like, what is that? Like, oh, it's me. It's just like a black blob amongst all the white bodies. Because you don't really see yourself, you know, you see your tattoos every day, so it's just your skin. But yeah, then also when I see another girl walking by me now who's fully tattooed, I also look. So yeah, you don't really have that distance from yourself to realize that it's kind of eye-catching. My name is Cleo Kinnaman. I am a painter, a tattooer, and a creative director for Mr. I grew up all over the world. I was born in Brussels in Belgium, and then I moved to Germany where I started school, then to Malaysia, and then I came to Sweden where I had my formative years, and I was there for about 8 years, and then I moved to the States. Growing up, traveling has definitely shaped me and my art because I was always a little bit scared that I would forget people or experiences, so I started keeping a diary, I started photographing them, doing sketches. I'm very sentimental and I want to keep it with me because every time I would go somewhere, it wouldn't take long before I left. I feel like it did suit my personality because I'm a little bit of a thrill seeker and I like to be stimulated, so moving around fit my personality, but in another regard, I am very sentimental and I love keepsakes and remembering special things about people or things that stand out to me, so it's a double-edged sword. Because I was constantly moving so much being younger, maybe I really wanted to hold on to a memory or something, and maybe therefore tattooing really appealed to me. Being able to keep something really special with you forever that nobody can take or move around felt really unique and different to me. So that might be part of it. I felt like very much of an outcast when I moved to Sweden. I couldn't really relate to a lot of people my age. My parents were in their 50s when they had me and I kept moving around. So when I started becoming a teenager, nobody back then really had tattoos. It was mostly like punk rockers and, I don't know, adults. But the moment I became an apprentice is just naturally when I started getting tattooed. There was no premeditated idea of what I wanted to look like or what I wanted to be like. And even when I say apprentice, it was not a real apprenticeship. It was in the shitty part of town, in a dungeon, with a dude that absolutely did not know what he was doing. Artistically, he did not care about people or clients or what looked good or didn't or how to develop. He had no interest in that. He just wanted money. So my first tattoo is just a tiny text I have here.
Does it still exist?
It does still exist. I'm not gonna say. But my first big one was pretty much my whole thigh, which was the second one I got, which is of a cobra. It's like a Japanese big cobra with big flowers.
What was their reaction among your friends about you being tattooed?
I think my friends were a little confused by it, just because we didn't have anyone in our group or circle or anyone our age at that point that had tattoos. But I feel like people generally knew that I always kind of did whatever I wanted, so they weren't that surprised either. And the same goes for my parents. They have always been supportive in whatever I want to do, although of course they were concerned that maybe it would, you know, impact my future somehow. I started tattooing when I was around 14. But my apprenticeship, like I said, wasn't legit. So I would say I started working in a real shop when I was 16, 17. And it was not okay. Nobody should let a 14, 15-year-old tattoo them, in my opinion, at least not in the capacity that I was doing. Luckily, I really paced myself. The guy I was working under really pushed me and wanted me to do everything that came in. But I was very stubborn and took my time because I was terrified of doing a bad job on anybody. So I really, you know, did things in the order I felt I was capable. And I do not regret starting that young. because it led to such crazy experiences and a crazy career journey for me that I just can't imagine my life without it. It really shaped me. Even such a thing as, I don't think I'm a patient person by nature. I suspect that I'm not. I don't feel like it's my personality type. But tattooing, I wanted to be good so bad that you have to take your time. It's gonna take time. And I feel like if I didn't have the discipline that tattooing gave me, I wouldn't have been able to pursue a lot of other things I've done in my life. I got tattooed really quickly, so by the time I was 18, I was pretty much covered. I almost looked the way I do now. So for me, I've looked this way for so long, I don't really identify with my tattoos anymore. That sounds strange, but if I didn't have any today, I'm not even sure I would get any. Maybe like a few small ones, but there wasn't like an aesthetic I was chasing. I know it sounds insane because it's so much like effort and pain and, you know, to go through to be this covered, but I don't think I thought about it that much. I think I was on the path of tattooing and I wanted to be good so bad. In conjunction with meeting lots of tattooers and traveling, I just wanted to collect, but I don't remember having a clear thought as to why.
Was there like a point where you noticed that people started noticing your tattoos?
So because I didn't really think this through, I remember it was winter in Sweden, and during that winter I got my neck and I got my hands, and then summer came around. I walked with my mother in the city center. I remember catching everyone's eyes and I could tell that they all had been staring at me. And I told my mother, like, I need to go home, like this is too stressful, because I wasn't counting on the attention. And she just looked at me and was like, Cleo, what were you expecting? It took years for me to feel comfortable because people stop you, people want to talk. A lot of people don't know what they want to talk to you about, so the tattoos are the first thing they come up with a question about to try and stop you. And I like people, but I also like my space and being alone. And if you're walking around summertime, lightly clothed, being a girl, it's just inevitable that you're gonna get stopped every few minutes. I like doing what I want when I want. And if you get a lot of attention, if you have a lot of tattoos, people are gonna pay attention to you. You kind of lose your anonymity a little bit. And that's something I also had to learn to be comfortable with. But I think it's all healthy because it just makes you more of a flexible person. I realized that if I was gonna keep getting annoyed every time someone stopped me, and that person didn't know that another person stopped me 3 minutes ago, the person who was gonna have a bad day is me. So I've definitely grown more patient, and yeah, now I don't have an issue with that anymore, at all.
You recently on your Instagram posted a photo, so you got no tattoos.
Mm-hmm.
What was that experience like?
Well, I covered my tattoos for a project I was doing, and then I just happened to film it as well and put it on my Instagram. I was also curious about how I would feel looking at myself without tattoos. At first, I honestly felt a little bit sick, because it's like I don't really remember what my skin is, to be honest. So it made me a little bit sick, and then 2 seconds later, I felt like myself again. That's what I was saying before. I don't know if I necessarily would be tattooed if I didn't have any today. I still feel like myself. I liked it. It's such a drastic difference, but I didn't feel that different, which is strange.
You got so tattooed so early on. Have you continued getting tattooed?
I've gotten a few tattoos. Now I'm covering stuff, which I feel like a lot of tattooers do. So I have this sleeve, for example, that is not exactly the way I want it to be, and I'm very much into ornamental and black work now, which it was more of a niche thing when I started tattooing versus now it's more prevalent, and I love the way it looks. So I'm gonna cover this arm. Apart from that, I'm kind of over it. Sucks. Just hurts. Like I can't do more than 3-4 hours. I can't believe I used to sit for 10 hours, 2 days in a row. Crazy. I mean, I've discussed this with a couple other tattooers. I don't know what happens. I don't know if it's age or if it's the motivation of why to get tattooed, but you kind of lose it after a few years, you know?
So if you could go back, all the way back to being 14, I think that's when you got first, would you do things the same way that you did?
Yeah, I think I would do things the same. It's really hard to, like I said, I was so young and it's part of my journey. So yeah, I could sit here all day and say, yes, I wish I had these perfect tattoos, but I don't think that would be a true description of who I am or the journey that brought me here. So no, I'm fine with it the way it is.